Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today we're going over a everything you need to know guide for the Switch 2. We also just got some updates today on the pricing for consoles and accessories and everything else. Generally speaking, consoles and games are the same, accessories have gone up in price. So let's go ahead and get started. See, everything you need to know, we're going to be talking about the console itself, the games, the features, the specifications for different stuff, the controllers, how all of the cartridges are going to work and everything, what's paywalled, all of it's going to be right here. And we're going to get through this too as quickly as possible because there is quite a bit of it. But let's start with the console. So the CPU and GPU is going to be a custom NVIDIA, which also allows the upscaler from NVIDIA that will have DLSS. We don't know exactly what version this is going to have, but an upscaler, if you're not sure what that is, it's just lowering the resolution and upscaling it to either back to a resolution or to a higher resolution in order to kind of allow the hardware to get higher frame rates and stuff like that. So it's to help the game run better than it normally would with just the local hardware. Also, storage options. Storage for the console itself will be 256 gigs. We're also going to have 12 gigabytes of RAM. This will be LPDDR5. We're also going to have expandable memory cards, though they're specific for the Switch 2. So Switch 1 stuff is not going to work. These express cards, with the updated pricing, looks like they're going to be, well, you'll have to check your local listings because different companies have different pricing, but looks like the express cards maybe haven't gone up in price yet. Right now, there's one specifically on Amazon by Elixir that's going to be $55, and yeah, that hasn't gone up in pricing. The battery itself will be 2,220 mAh for the battery. The battery life will be somewhere between 2 hours to 6.5 hours. It's actually quite a bit shorter than the original Switch one. The screen itself will be 7.9 inches diagonally. The weight will be 401 grams, which is actually like a 33% increase in weight. It's actually kind of heavy. The other ones were, I think, 300. So yeah, good chunk added there. Also be 2 USB-C ports and also one 3.5 millimeter jack. The USB-C port will actually be able to allow you to use a phone charger to charge up your gamepad, which is awesome. Also, the video on the TV is going to be 4K at 60 frames per second. That will be its max. And in handheld mode, it'll be 180p at 120 frames. There's also going to be HDR10 for color enhancement, and also variable or VRR support, again, to kind of enhance the smoothness of the picture as you're playing. MSRP, as of updated today on April 18th, is going to be $450. This includes what tariffs are going to be. So Japan has made the decision that regardless of whatever's going to happen with tariffs, we currently have this 90-day pause for them. They're still going to have it at $450. There are current talks in Vietnam where the console is made, and well, yeah, we'll exactly see what happens with that. But this doesn't mean they won't change the price in the future. Again, so for right now, for launch, which will be June 5th, the MSRP for the Switch 2 will be $450, and the bundle that comes with Mario Kart World will be $500. Pre-orders are also available starting on April 24th, so just in a few days. And yeah, they'll be open basically to everybody, and I assume this is also the United States and Canada. Currently, scalper prices are going to be $800+. Maybe when the frenzy kind of hits with the pre-orders and all of this other kind of stuff, we might even possibly see $1,000 as time goes on. Taking a look at Joy-Cons, these will not have Hall effect joysticks. So this means that they will instead be resistant. They have this little teeny sleeve over each stick to kind of help not allow the springs and tensioners to not wear out as quickly. But hey, if you're heavy and hard on your joysticks, they're going to wear out anyway. Yeah, they do not have Hall effects. Also, the Joy-Cons will be able to be used as a mouse for some games. Again, if the developers actually put that feature in there. These will be $95. quite expensive. The Joy-Cons for the Switch 1 were $80, so that's a pretty good jump. There is also a GameCube wireless controller, and this will only be used for the GameCube games that they have available through Nintendo Online Expansion Pass, which is $50 a year. It's like their online subscription service. And yeah, the controller is only going to be used for those games actually on the service. So, which is frustrating. But yeah, this, as far as we know, too, is $65. But we'll get a little bit more into that as we get into it. The camera itself, you're going to be able to have voice chat, be able to chat with your party and stuff, and also stream yourself if you'd like with this camera, which really looks pretty horrendous, somewhere between 15 and 20 frames per second. The camera itself will be set at 1080p. There's also a Piranha plant from the Super Mario Bros. Game camera. This will be 480p, so quite the big resolution drop there. They'll also have a plug with a USB-C port to be able to be used. And then, yeah, voice chat and streaming will be actually paywalled between or behind Nintendo Online for $20 a year. And the camera itself also saw a price increase. Instead of $50, this will be $55. And then, yeah, let's talk about the wireless GameCube controller. This will be available, as far as we know, only through Nintendo's official website, and this can only be used for the Switch 2. This, as far as we last heard, is going to be $65, since the rest of the accessories are going up generally $5. We can assume that this is going to cost $70, and it can only be used for the GameCube games on the Nintendo Expansion Pass, which is, again, $50 a year. So at launch, the Switch 2 will have 3 GameCube games, and more will come at a later date. Nintendo Online will be $20 a year for the individual, $35 a year for the family, and Expansion Pass, which has some of these other features that we've talked about so far, for $50 a year for the individual and $80 a year for the family. As far as we know, these also are not going up in price. These are going to stay at stable prices with the tariffs. Let's talk about games. There's also going to be variable pricing, according to the Nintendo USA president, Bowser. Hilarious, that's what his name is. Mario Kart World will be $80, and this is still confirmed on Nintendo's website as of today. With their update, is that, again, the games are going to stay the same price. The console will stay the same price. It will be the accessories that will see the increase. But Mario Kart World is going to be $80 digital, $90 physical. Again, we do have that bundle, which those are only going to be made in limited quantities. Also found out that Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be $70. And the standard price looks like it's relatively going to be $70 for most of the games. Of course, with all of the third-party publishing games, they'll have to decide what their prices are going to be. And but I think it's safe to say that the majority of the games that you'll want to buy are going to be $70 or $80 for the first-party stuff at Nintendo. This also doesn't mean that we have a ceiling either. It also means with the variable pricing that we could actually see an increase for Switch 2 games in the future. And then, yeah, third-party games will have their own pricing. I imagine, though, that they'll relatively be pretty much the same cost as what there are on current consoles today. So if they're porting over to Switch 2, you can expect the price to be the same regardless of where you buy it. Game cartridges. So game cartridges will actually have 2 options. There'll be 32 gig and 64 gig. And the plan is that the whole game will actually be on the card. Now, there are key cards. These will have a license. You'll have to connect online and download the game from their servers. And there will be a label at the bottom of the game case to indicate whether this is actually a game card or a key card. And so make sure you make that distinction. Again, it'll be on the bottom, on the front of the game case, and it'll indicate that for you. These key cards will also still be transferable, as they're a physical copy. They're not going to be locked down to other consoles or anything like that, or other users. It's going to read the cartridge, see that you have a license, allow you to download it, and then you can play the game. So make sure, too, when you're actually buying pre-owned copies, you make sure you're actually buying exactly what you want. So if you want the game card with all of the files on it, make sure that's actually what that is. Because otherwise, these key cards, they'll be floating around. If the game is over 64 gigs, basically you'll have to download stuff anyway. for a lot of this stuff. We do know of one game in particular, Cyberpunk 2077, is actually going to have all of the game data right there on the card, including the expansion pass, Phantom Liberty, which is pretty impressive that they're all going to shrink it down to 64 gigs. That's going to be pretty impressive for a physical copy on Switch. But yeah, that too will also be relatively the same price like they had it at launch. Switch 2, let's see, games that are the Switch 2 editions, and then backwards compatibility. Let's chat about this a little bit. So there will be $80 editions. If you have expansion pass, some of these will be free, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But the Switch 2 edition of Tears of the Kingdom, for example, won't actually come with the DLC that the game has. Still for $80. So this is sounding pretty expensive. What you do get is HDR10, resolution 4K upgrade, and improved textures, higher frame rate, and an additional save slot for the game. And all of this actually appears right on the cartridge. So all of these graphical upgrades for all of these games, Nintendo has confirmed that these digital improvements will actually come as game files on the cartridge when you buy these Switch 2 editions. But it also shows, too, that the Switch 2 editions won't always come with everything. Not all the time. So make sure, again, you're actually checking and making sure of what you're getting and that you're happy with your purchase. If you just buy the upgrade itself for some of these games, generally that will be a $10 download. And again, this price is not increasing. And I believe the reason why the Switch 1 versus Switch 2 editions are going up $20 in price is because they're charging you $10 for the graphical upgrades, and then they're charging you $10 for the physical copy. So it was hard to tell exactly if it was even the digital copies were going to be the same cost. I am wondering, even though a lot of the stuff has been focused on physical, I am wondering if those editions are actually going to be $70, not $80. But yeah, we'll have to see. That's still not exactly completely clear. Let's talk about the Express cards. So these are upgrading your storage. Again, you start with 256 gigs, but a lot of these games are actually going to be pretty big. Again, if Cyberpunk 2077 is going to choose the 64 gig card, that is going to be a pretty big file size. So we can probably expect that to be roughly around 50. I would assume. Same with Elden Ring and some of these other games, that they're probably going to be around 50 gigs just for the game. So as you can kind of think about that, maybe some are going to be 40, but as you kind of think about that, like that's really going to be filling up your storage space pretty quickly. So you're going to want to upgrade as quickly as you can, as big as you can. We do know too, though, that Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be about 10 gigabytes. We do know that Mario Kart World is going to be about 25 gigs. So yeah, there's going to be some variable changes and stuff in there. We know too, I think that Borderlands 4 is going to be maybe around 14, 15 gigs for the game. So it depends on how the devs want to do this. I would just assume that a lot of these sizes are actually going to be quite large. And so as of right now, we do know that there is a price increase on some of the cards that are available for the Switch 2. Right now on Amazon, there are some cards available that says right there in the description that you can actually use these on your Switch 2. And so far, the 256 gig is about $50. 512 gigs is going to be $90. The 1 terabyte is actually sold out. I'm assuming this is going to be $160, $170. And these are out of stock, but of course you can check these prices, check if they're in stock every week. I actually checked this morning, and the 200 or the 512 gig is actually now out of stock as well. And so the only thing that's left is the 256. And again, with some of these games, especially later in the generation, they're going to get bigger in size because we're having that 4K, we're having that ray tracing to make lighting effects better in the game, and all of these other graphical enhancements is going to be pretty taxing on your storage, so you're going to want to grab some of those. So yeah, just an idea for the price. If you and your partner or you have a family, if you bought the console bundle, a second pair of Joy-Cons, expansion pass to get some of those benefits, 2 games, and the 256 gigabyte express card to double your space, it would actually cost you $830. So it's still actually getting pretty expensive. So that's the rundown of the bulk of the information and the data. And I'll be sure to link the website as well from Nintendo, sharing what the accessory updated prices are, but most of them are an increase of $5. Some of them seem to be an increase of $10. And so with that, thanks for tuning in. You can always like, sub, all that jazz. You can always follow me too. I do other stuff on my channel at Gaming Garbage 22. Also poke around the playlist to help organize everything. And good luck shopping, folks. I'll see you guys on the next one.